Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. Me and Zach today, and we're going to be doing a preview on the fourth Ashes Test. So it's at Old Trafford, this one. England must win to stay in. Australia must win to win the Ashes. And yeah, so obviously as England fans, we're hoping that England win, but probably as a neutral, you're also hoping that England win so that it comes down to that final test and decider. If you're an Australian fan, obviously you want England to lose miserably. And looks like England are doing everything they can in their power to make that happen.
Yeah.
Because Moeen Ali is coming in at 3. This was an experiment they tried in the second innings of the last test at Headingley, and he got 5 off 15 before he was clean bowled from a ball that wasn't amazing. Just hit his leg stump. So Moeen Ali at 3, that's the first talking point. What's your opinion?
Well, I guess you can't. It's not really ideal, is it? The situation anyway. I mean, we haven't got Pope batting at number 3. Ben Stokes is obviously not fit enough to bowl his normal allotted overs. We don't have Jack Leach in the team. There's a lot of non-ideals here, and so you try and paper the cracks, and papering the cracks with Moeen Ali at 3 as the main spinner when he hasn't played a Test match series for a long time before this one. I don't know. I can't really question it. You just kind of got to accept it, because I think England quickly realised that Harry Brook needs to be at number 5 to get the most out of him. And Moeen Ali is used to playing everywhere in the innings. Him batting at number 3, it's easy for everyone on the outside to look in and think, what are England playing at there? That's just a walking wicket. He's just going to lose his wicket. But I think whether Moeen Ali comes in at 1 or 11, England aren't going to really worry about that. I think the main thing is they've got all their other 11 players in the right positions, and Moeen Ali is kind of a bit of a floater there.
All the other 11 are in the right positions, apart from Johnny Bairstow.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
And I say this every single time. I constantly harp on about how Bairstow shouldn't have the gloves, Folkes should be in.
Yeah.
But maybe an additional point on top of all of the ones that I've already said is that Folkes makes the bowlers better. Like you become more effective if all your chances are being taken, especially as a spinner, because those kind of flicks off the pads that go very fine or under edges actually become opportunities when you've got an incredibly good keeper. And so somebody like Joe Root, he becomes a better spinner and a better bowler if Ben Folkes is behind the wickets than compared to if Johnny Bairstow is.
Yeah.
In the same way that you could be, an absolute village pie chucker, and if you're in a village team, a Sunday village team that they can't catch, you're not going to be very good. If you're in a team full of elite fielders, suddenly you could become a viable option.
Yeah.
So personally, I think that we are a bit batting light, and that we could feasibly play or have played Ben Folkes even at 3, because he's not going to do any worse than Ali.
No.
And he makes the bowling attack better. But I understand why they've done it based on the fact that Stokes isn't bowling. Further questions could be raised as to whether Stokes should be batting at 3.
Well, yeah. It's hard to kind of say. Like, Moeen Ali was praised by Ben Stokes after the last match for his spell of bowling to get rid of Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith. And when you look at it, it was just bad batting from Smith at Labuschagne. They wouldn't get out to Moeen Ali like that. Moeen Ali's had a few spells of good bowling. I mean, the dismissal in the first test at Edgbaston to Travis Head sticks out in my memory as a really good wicket for him. So he's got that ability to take those wickets. It's just, I think when you look at the stats, there was a piece that was brought out in the BBC from Andy Zoltzman, which shows how close the two teams have been stats-wise. Like the margin for runs has been so small in this test series, smaller than any other test series pretty much in history. And also, when you look at the difference in the contributions from Johnny Bairstow to Alex Carey, that's where there's a massive difference there. Yeah. So if you take away that difference by giving Ben Folkes the gloves, And then you also add in the fact that Johnny Bairstow's record as not a wicket keeper, just as a batsman, is so much better. I think it all makes sense to say that Folkes should be the keeper. But when you look at the history of Test cricket, bazball doesn't make sense. So I think, it can be frustrating looking at how England are doing things. But Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum, things have worked for them pretty recently.
Yeah, but I mean, my thing about bazball is that when they started, Stokes was really clear that he wants the best team to win the next match.
Yeah,
like he wants to play the best 11 to win the Test match that's in front of them every time, and that was like his main reasoning behind getting Broad and Anderson back in, because they are the best bowlers to take 20 wickets in a Test match.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't feel like he's playing his best 11 for the next Test match to me. One person that I think is good, potentially, hopefully, is Anderson.
Yes.
Now, Anderson has been in not very good form in the last 2 tests that he played. He has had a break. He's at his home ground. It could be good.
He's not got the best record at his home ground in Test matches, but it's Jimmy Anderson. Is one of the best seamers to have ever played the game. Probably the best swing bowler in history. And he might be old, his body might be at his end, but I reckon he's going to give it his all, and I can see him having a good Test match. I can see him doing better than Ollie Robinson, who seems to have broken a bit. But we'll see how he does. I'm excited to see James Anderson bowling. I love watching James Anderson bowl, so it'll be great to watch. And I think England's strength is their seam bowling. When you look at how well they've done in this series, Stuart Broad, top wicket taker, Mark Wood, if he can bowl more 95-mile-per-hour spells, then that's what we want to see. James Anderson and Chris Woakes, who proved himself in the last game he didn't really need to prove himself. No. We know he's good in English conditions. He does it every time, and it's just sad that we've not got Stokes, then Folkes, then Woakes, really.
Yeah.
That's disappointing.
That's what the fans want to see.
That's what we want to see for the chance, isn't it? But let's talk about Australia then, because England's issues, they've not really created the selection dilemma by having a squad where they're not picking Folkes or any other batsman, really. But Australia, they've got issues in that Mitchell Marsh played a very good innings in the last Test match, so it's hard to leave him out. But now Cameron Green is fit. He can probably bowl as well, so he adds that balance. What do Australia do when they've got 12 players? It's a good problem to have. But what do they do? Because Moeen Ali said it would be silly for them to leave out Todd Murphy.
Yeah, and I mean, Moeen Ali's always going to fight tooth and nail to get another finger spinner in there, isn't he? And he was very. I found it quite funny, the fact that he said, "Oh, you need a spinner." So obviously you're going to say that. You're never going to find a spinner saying, "Well, yeah, it looks like a 4-seamer kind of track." But it's going to be. It is a really interesting one, because I think the scariest lineup for Australia from an English perspective has Marsh and Green, because Marsh's slow bowling, like that right arm medium but gets it to move a bit, is causing England some problems. And I think he's been getting Crawley a couple of times, and then like Cameron Green, I feel like he's been under-bowled, and he's obviously been rested, so might not be up to his usual form. But if he's fit, then you've got 2 very good bowling options there. Pat Cummins is obviously going to play, and so what they could feasibly do is only have 2 other seamers play, Cameron Green or Mitch Marsh down the order, and have Todd Murphy in there, and they've got like such a deep batting lineup then. And the main question mark is whether they decide to remove Warner, because Warner is quite out of form, but I can't see him doing it.
They're not going to get rid of Warner. It's not going to happen. Australia's top 5 is going to stay as it is. They're not going to change that. They're going to have Alex Carey in as well. So the question mark is, do they play Cameron Green over Mitch Marsh or keep Mitch Marsh in? Or do they kind of, as you've said, because Stark and Cummins have to play. They've been the two best seamers for Australia, the two standout seamers. I mean, Josh Hazelwood and Scott Boland, I reckon Cameron Green and Mitchell Marsh together can provide that sort of bowling option. I mean, Scott Boland, it was very clear that he's coming to England. He'll suit the English conditions, but he didn't play in the Test match that probably would have suited him at Lord's. However, England haven't let him settle, and it's proven to be effective, and he's been nullified a bit. Josh Hazelwood, we know his class, but is he 100% fit enough to bowl 20 overs a day? I don't know. So I'm with you in that. I think they only need to pick two seamers, which makes it a lot scarier knowing that Australia are batting all the way down to 8. Like Alex Carey coming in at 8. Like that's deep batting, and it's as deep as England with Chris Woakes coming in at number 8. Except Australia will play a bit more sensibly, won't they, than England?
Yeah, and also I think the main issue that people like Scott Boland and Josh Hazelwood have faced is that they're too metronomic, and actually that's what the England players have been looking at.
Yeah,
they want to hit you off your length, and that's where they're going to thrive, because if they know where the ball's going to be, and yes, it might be in that tricky channel, but for the most part they don't care, because they're now looking to do reverse scoops and slogs because they know where the ball's going to be. Whereas in the past it's always been that awkward channel where you don't know whether to play or leave, and because you're playing proper cricket shots. And it's the people that can adapt and do something a bit different, such as Pat Cummins, who will can go to those fast shorter balls, or Mitchell Stark, who can just bowl that searing Yorker that can make the difference. And I think I think they could end up batting very deep, because Mitchell Stark and Pat Cummins can both bat all right. So I'm pretty scared if Australia go for that kind of side.
I think also, just on that, I think what we're seeing from someone like a David Warner and even Marnus Labuschagne, who are out of form, is there's a difference in clarity there from the English batsmen, say, because Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett, when Australia's bowlers are bowling in that channel, they've got clarity of thought because they don't leave the ball. They're going to play those shots unless it's really wide, whereas Marnus Labuschagne, he's been got out quite a few times from the wide ball. David Warner doesn't know whether to play or leave against you abroad because of that right arm angle to the left-handed batsman. So maybe Australia can learn a thing or two from those English batsmen. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think David Warner generally plays best when he's playing his shots, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Like when he takes the game to the batters.
Yeah, he's got to play
to the bowlers. Yeah, and in the same way, Travis Head, he plays his best cricket when he's being attacking, when he's taking the game back to the bowlers, putting them under pressure.
Yeah.
And he kind of didn't do that in the second innings. He played quite a slow innings, and it looked like he was struggling for fluency. And I genuinely think he just needs to hit himself out of it.
Yeah,
like he needs to just go on the attack. That's where he's going to do best. Chance your hand a little bit,
definitely,
because you're more likely to get a 20 odd and then get out. But at least you've got the start, or you get 20 you can kick on, than building your base 20 off 80 balls. And then, trying to crack on from there.
Agree.
So really excited for it.
Predictions?
Oh, my goodness.
Because after the last Ashes, 4 years ago, last England Ashes, when England drew 1-1 at Headingley, all this excitement was in the country about Test cricket, about Ashes cricket, went to Old Trafford, and it was a bit of a letdown, and England got smashed.
Yeah.
Do you think... Because England have to win this. What's the weather like?
I don't know. I think
Manchester
you're right
at the end of the day.
I think you're right. I think it's
going to be a draw.
It is going to be a case of look up, not down. If it's cloudy, then obviously you've got Jimmy Anderson in there and Stuart Broad opening the bowling. So big things could happen there.
And Chris Woakes.
My instinct is, if Australia go for the lineup that we have suggested, they're in the driving seat, because they bat so deep.
Yeah.
And there are so many match winners all the way down to 8.
Yeah.
That I think England are going to find themselves in some hot water, especially with Moeen Ali being in at 3.
Yeah,
which effectively means that just the whole line, like he's a liability batting at 8. Like he's not a good enough Test batter at the moment to bat at 8.
No.
So I'm hoping that Moeen Ali proves me wrong, thrives under the faith that's been instilled in him, scores a ton. That's his swan song. He can leave.
Yeah.
But realistically, I think Australia.
I don't think England have it in them to score 350 in the first innings. So I think for Australia, the key will be getting big first innings runs, getting a lead of over 100 to really challenge that England team and just take the game out of their hands. That's the way to beat this England team at the moment.
Yeah.
And England in the last test match didn't really let Australia do that. And so I think if Australia managed to do that, it'll be easier for them. But you never know with the England team. I'm going to be optimistic and say England. And I don't want to say draw for the rain.
Yeah.
Because that would mean Australia retain the Ashes, which we don't want.
No.
If England win, that's ridiculous. To go 2-0 down and then win 3-2 in the Ashes, like that would be
So
serious.
Obviously desperate for England to win.
Yeah.
Not just because I'm an England fan, but because it's been such a good Ashes series so far that if it goes down to the wire, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think. What do you think the Australia squad's going to look like? What are your opinions on the England named 11? Be kind. Be,
No, just lay into it.
All right, yeah, you know what? Yeah, absolutely rinse them. Lampoon them like we did. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching. You can listen to our podcast on all podcasting sites. You can also follow our social medias, all in the link tree down in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.